Hello, everyone, and welcome to this next episode of Raw Talks podcast from the farm with me, Simba, and Mark. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
How you all doing today?
Doing well. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Got my healing hands on, so I'm feeling good.
Yeah, today we're diving into belief systems. So we did the first episodes on belief systems last week. So now we're following up with the most common but hidden belief systems that is blocking your healing. We will talk about that today. But before we do anything else, I just want to say we have one spot left for our men's retreat starting January 7th. There is a little bit delay before this is released, so it might already be taken, but let us know if you're interested. It's a retreat especially designed for men to come back to the healthy masculine on a physical, emotional, and spiritual level. So we already have 3 very interesting guys signed up, so we have one spot left. And the next cohort for the Holistic Lifestyle Redesign Mentorship Program, our 6-month coaching program from your own home, starts February 4. So that's the new cohort opening up for maybe 3 or 4 spots. So if you're interested in that, let us know. Back to the show. So when it comes to belief systems, so we have a process here at the farm for our retreats that is active so this is like a healing bubble, a healing vortex. And when you arrive here, you will be embarking on physical detoxification that leads into an emotional detoxification, and that leads into a spiritual detoxification. And when we talk about spiritual, we talk about a lot of things, but also belief systems. So we encounter a lot of people, very different people on their healing journeys. But what we also see is limiting beliefs that are standing in the way of people's, in-depth healing. You can do a lot of things without doing anything with the belief systems. But when it comes to deeper healings and people who have bigger obstacles, then we very often see a bunch of limiting belief systems that is actually keeping people from moving forward. So we're going to just discuss those a little bit. So Simba, what's your favorite one?
I've tried it all. I know what you're talking about. I've tried this already and it doesn't work for me. Oh, I did a few sessions with this person and it doesn't it's so much easier for everyone else. There's so many of them, right? I don't really know which one to change. But they're kind of similar.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Choose one and we will dissect it.
I've tried it all and it doesn't work for me.
So what is that about? What would you say?
A lack of belief in oneself. And there is usually the discrepancy between I've mentally played with idea and made peace with it intellectually, but I haven't embodied it. I haven't let my body feel safe enough to actually do this journey, to approach this modality, to do this kind of deep healing work on a physical level from your nervous system. So those are 2 very different things, right? Intellectually understanding the concept and making peace with that and being open for the idea of it and embodying it. Those are 2 completely different tracks. So I would say lack of safety and probably a disconnect, mind and body.
That's a good one. Anything to add on that one, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, like somebody said, the nervous system is the main player in this belief system. And, let's say just for example, someone came to us and they said, I don't like to do breath work because it gives me a headache and I just don't think it's really good for me. But really what they're saying is that my nervous system hasn't been safe in the past and I'm not sure how breath work is going to make me feel. So if we can ground their nervous system, then they might have a totally different experience on the breath work. but that limiting belief comes right in between and kind of cuts it off so that they don't have that experience until we help them ground a bit.
Yeah, and the fact that they have an experience like, yeah, I tried this and that modality, but that just gave me this pain or this headache or this emotional symptom, or like, no, I did this and I got this symptom. That means it's not for me. It just made me worse.
Yeah.
And on that one, I would say that the symptom is a is a ticket to the fact that it does work, because
right.
energy starts to shift in the body. And let's just do the headache for an example, but that's the energy in the body traveling upwards and not having a place to go. So it's and all kinds of symptoms, doing different modalities. And that's the thing, that we have so much unprocessed stuff in the body, and when what we want to do in the healing process is to move it, and we want to move it out of the system, and that might not always be super comfortable. And if you were doing different modalities with different practitioners, and it ties back to maybe you didn't feel safe enough in that moment, maybe the body wasn't able to release in that moment, or maybe the practitioner didn't pay enough attention to you or read you properly, or there can be all kinds of stuff that that is playing a part in why it felt funny that time, or because probably you didn't get the right support to navigate whatever happened in the body, and then, oh, I didn't feel safe, so no, I can't do that anymore.
Maybe you weren't ready.
Yeah,
right?
maybe you weren't ready. And that's fine too.
Sometimes we come from a conceptual idea. I need to heal, I need to do this work, and I just dive right into it. And that's great. But that's what's going on in the head, and the body's like, I'm not feeling safe. I'm not feeling in a place to do so. I'm not feeling that there is a communication going on here. I don't really feel this resonant compassion from you, right? And it's not going to feel safe, right? That's probably why we're there in the first place. So you might have tried it, but it might have been ahead of time.
Yeah, being ahead of time, being in front of the curve, the healing curve, your own healing curve.
Do you have a favorite one, Mark? Like something that you hear clients say that comes through, or maybe something you said yourself coming in, or?
Yeah, one that I catch myself often saying is like a limiting belief about a certain ability. I'm no good at yoga. I'm no good at, like I can't do handstand. I can't do pull-ups. Like I often verbally say out loud a limiting belief about myself when I'm encountered with something difficult or something that I find challenging. So I just make up this excuse and I say, "Oh, I'm no good at it. I just can't. I'm just not that. I wasn't just born with that ability." And I think that I'm not the only one who does that, but I know when I do it.
I'm not born with the ability to do yoga.
No.
Mark was born without that one. No, the yoga functionality, do not install that in this one.
Right. Yeah.
No, but it's if you come from a nervous system perspective, it's very interesting, because most of the people who work with us know that we are nervous system nerds, and that we always look at the nervous system like the first thing we do. But so we have the green zone, the fight or flight zone, and then we have the blue zone, the freeze zone, the dissociated state. And one of the key aspect in there is I can't.
Right.
So every time you say something that I can't do that, then we are in some sort of a freeze position and limiting ourselves on many different levels. But this is mostly your area, Simba, to describe technicalities. I can't.
Yeah, it's a distance between what you perceive as real and what you don't perceive as real, right? Like you might not have an experience and a model for it. So you might not even perceive yourself to be able to do something because there's no model for it. Like, let's take an example in sports. I think I talked about it last podcast a little bit, but in sports, someone broke the record for 2-hour marathon or something like that. It was not too long ago. And then usually what happens in sports when this happens is that the next couple of 2 years, there will be 10, 20, 30, 40 people that do it. But no one has ever done it before. But one starts to do it, and then other follows, because now there is a concept of it. There's a reality. You can do it. It's tangible. And that kind of goes the same for us. If we haven't done it before, we might not have a construct of that. And then usually adding, well, depending on where you come from, but you told me some of this, Mark, the physical education, right? Like in some schools, they push you and they have benchmarks and tests. So if you couldn't do it then, and you had a whole class looking at you, maybe laughing, or, there might be an experience behind it that didn't feel safe. And that allows you to think, okay, when I see this, I combine that with lack of safety, shame, not feeling good enough, and showing my vulnerabilities. So there might be a lot of layers coupled to that experience. It's usually not so much as, oh, I can't do this, I don't want to do it. There usually is a reason or some experience or a lack of experience that brings us to a state where it doesn't feel safe for us, right? It might not even feel safe to talk about it. It might just talking about it, I feel my breath going, right? Because the body is not feeling safe. It remembers something that wasn't safe, and then it replaces it. You might not remember it consciously, but your body knows it, and it doesn't want to go there.
Yeah. I think it's easy for us to use examples about the physical body and your ability in your body, like yoga, stretching, this kind of stuff. But another area where I see it come up in is in like talents. So like every once in a while we do an activity where I ask people to draw or to describe their talents on paper. And then sometimes I get a reaction like, well, I can't draw. I don't know how to do this. How am I supposed to do this activity if I can't draw? So like there's this limiting belief about creativity. So like musical ability and artistic ability tends to be one of those ones that we attribute to being innate or naturally born with, and you either have it or you don't have it, right? Is a belief. I'm not sure it's the correct belief, but it's one that our society easily dishes out. And so we can easily tell ourselves, oh, I'm no good at drawing, I'm no good at writing, I'm no good at dancing, I'm no good at X, Y, Z. So I think that there's a lot of societal excuses that allow the limiting belief to perpetuate.
Yeah, and this is not to be mistaken with the fact that we might not be very good at it. It's a different thing. Like, I can't dance. Yeah, well, everyone can dance. You just put on music and move. It's just like, and like,
yeah,
drawing. Yeah, maybe you're not good at it, but you can do it. It's like there's two different things. It's like, I can't do it. That's like that's a huge block. And then, wow, I suck at this, and that it's but what I see most with these things is that it's the shame and the embarrassment of having someone else look at you while you do something that you're considering yourself being bad at. Similar what Simba said, that that something happened along the way that doesn't make it safe to. I mean, I've been like that until like 5 years ago. I did not do anything that I wasn't good at. I hated that. So I didn't do it. I tried it once. And if I wasn't mastering it or had a talent for it within like the first minute, then I just stopped, walked away, and like, I don't want to do that. And that was.
Let me ask you a question with that. This is, sorry to interrupt. This is just super interesting. What's the difference between not being good at something and I just don't know this? This is unfamiliar to me.
I mean, if it's unfamiliar, then you've never done it. I mean, if you're not good at it, you have tried it at some point, because you have to know that you're not good at it. If you never tried it, you don't know. Right?
Yeah, but what is it like? I'm thinking it's not a trick question. It's more since we're doing a podcast on belief systems, right? I was thinking, what's the benchmark for not being good at it, right? There has to be something we're measuring ourselves against to say, this is good. I'm not this. So I'm not good, right?
Yeah.
I'm different from that. But what is that benchmark?
I mean, I think that varies in different, I mean, if we're talking about pull-ups, I mean, I can't do one pull-up, then I'm not good at pull-ups, If drawing, I mean, if you try to draw a cat and it looks like something that you can't even recognize, then maybe you're not super good at drawing. I mean, I can draw a cat, but I can only draw one kind of cat. And I mean, but yes, no, the two round balls with with the ears, yeah, and whiskers. Then it's a cat. No, but no, I mean, I'm terrible at drawing. But the thing that happened is that I worked through the shame and the embarrassment of not being good at things, because I mean that was very, very high for me. I didn't do it. I mean, if you ask people who knew me like 10, 15 years ago, they know that I was very particular and very rigid with what I was participating in and what I was doing. But now it's like, I mean, we did this drawing exercise one morning in meditation, and I just like, okay. And I just drew it, and I just had fun with it. And, there was a cat in there.
It looked great. It looked really good.
Yeah, it did. But I mean, it wasn't high level sketching. I mean, you look at someone, when they can sketch like a whole face, or I mean, people are just good at some things. And I mean, I've never spent any time doing it, but now I don't have that embarrassment anymore around these kind of things. I mean, like, I've never played any music, so if I play music, of course I'm gonna suck at it, but I can participate and have fun with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the
do
one
think
who's trying to
there's
get karaoke into the menu.
Yeah,
You
we're gonna
guys
do
are
that.
hesitating, and
I'm
I'm
warming
like,
up to it.
yeah, I'm like, it doesn't matter, we just sing.
Yeah. But I think, coming from my background in education and working with children for 20 years, I personally think that anyone can do anything should they practice and put their mind to it.
Yeah.
And so while some people have a proclivity towards music and proclivity towards drawing, that just means that their interest is high enough that they practice a lot and that they're drawn to practicing a lot, and they find happiness in doing so. And so because they like practicing drawing, they get better at it and better at it and better at it.
Yeah.
Just like Sarah, you're really good at marketing and coming up with big ideas and organizing. Simba's really great at body work. Why? Because you have years of practice into these things. If you were to practice drawing a cat every day, if I was to practice doing push-ups every day or pull-ups, we would all be better at those things.
Yep. But I don't need to practice my cats because I'm super satisfied with how my cat looks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a choice. You just, you decide whether you want to practice something or not practice something. But just because you don't practice something doesn't mean that you're bad at it. It just mees that you haven't practiced it.
Yeah. It's super simple.
It's different levels also of doing it, right? Like you have hobby, you have novice, you have beginner, you have expert level, you have professional, you have like recognized artist. I was really into this a couple of years ago, right? Because I came from martial arts into body work, massage therapy, personal training, and then I started to going into life coaching. And I really started to dig deep into motivation, right? Like what is that power of belief that actually makes someone go from I can do it? For some people, it's just so easy, they can do anything. And for other people, they always feel like, I have two left foots or whatever you want to, whenever you want to say it, like you always feel one step behind. And a lot of it comes down to that belief systems, right? Like of good or bad, right? Like, what does it mean? Of course, you're not going to be good at something if you haven't done it before. Why do we even expect that? Why do we even compare ourselves to someone that is? And yeah, I did a lot of research and a lot of study on it, read a lot of books and met a lot of interesting people. And what I found out was that, there is no such thing as talent. There are some people, like you said, have a proclivity to it. They get it a little bit faster than others, but that ain't worth nothing unless you cultivate on that, right? You need to hard work. You need to kind of drive it forward for it to be something. And I think the way to do that is to make it get the reward in doing the work, right? Practice feeling a reward in growing, in learning something, adverse to I did this, now I'm good. Now people can look at it. I can put this nice painting up. This cat is amazing. Oh my God, I wish I can draw like you, Sarah. Oh my, this because that just
Said
gets
no one
addictive
ever.
and you just push it further and further. You get my point.
Maybe my mom. She's worse than me. So yeah,
Oh,
that I take that back. That wasn't true. That was a limiting belief system.
that's
Right,
okay.
moving on. We have more to do.
Let's go on.
I'm going to choose my favorite.
Yep.
Drum roll. I will always feel like this. This will never end.
Mm. Yeah.
That I think that's the number one. When people are in the healing, and then I mean, there's some of them that are like blocking themselves to move into things, and I think we covered those a little bit. But the one that is, I will always be like this. I mean, I've had that one myself, so and that can usually stick around for a while, and it's that I think that's the trickiest one.
I mean, you change the will to I choose to, you know, that's the main thing. The problem is you kind of driven so far out in the nervous system, you're more in apathy, you're more in the blue zone, right? Like you're giving up. And when I say you're giving up, sometimes people go, oh, that's not really fair because it's not a conscious choice. And that's true. It's not a conscious choice. It's not, you're not lazy, you're not stupid, you haven't done anything wrong. But there's so much stress in the system that has given up, right?
Yeah, the system has given up. You as a person haven't given up. You can be trying all you can, but the system,
so on an autonomic nervous system level, the body has come to a point where it's disconnecting, right? Your mind is saying, I can't do anything with all of the stress responses that's firing up to the brain. So it shuts it down with endorphins, usually pain-killing, numbing agents. And I mean, really, it's about slowing everything down, I would say, in that one. Slowing everything down, doing a lot of grounding because things are moving way too fast. And this is connected to procrastination, self-sabotage, you know, limiting belief systems of not feeling good enough or holding yourself back. And it's usually not yours. That's what I tell people. This is usually something you either put pieces together because of the nature you grew up in or someone told you, right? And you took it on as your own, right? So it's usually a conditioned response from the environment. And I mean, you can probably attest to that, Mark, being a teacher. You put a kid from a classroom that's just being rowdy and having, you know, bad grades and fighting everyone. You put them in the right environment that, you know, they will take off. Something will change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feeling, that thought of like, this is never going to get any better. That it can be almost like a tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And you know, this is what drives people to suicidal ideation. They just can't see out of that. There's that tunnel is so dark and so narrow. It's never going to change. It's always going to be like this. I'm always going to have this problem. And then they don't see any way out. Yeah.
I mean, that's we haven't encountered anything like that in in all the years. That's but people who actually, you know, outside of this, I mean, that's the ultimate step if you just go too deep and too dark onto that one. But I mean, what I experienced because I had that for a long time, and you know that the Simba, I was like, I'm never gonna fix this. It's like, this is never gonna work. There's been some of my issues that I've had that feeling in and around, and then your response was, that's the trauma. You know, the fact that I was about to knock you cold sometimes. You gave me those, you know. But what I realized now when I look back is that it's connected to so much anger and frustration. And when I worked through the anger and the frustration, I actually let go of, oh, it will always be like this. That just disappeared. The symptoms for me is still there. There's something that hasn't really figured out for me yet. But the anger and frustration is not there anymore. I mean, it can come off like a little poof, but it's just not there anymore. So I think that the charge in and around the topic is as dangerous as the topic itself. You know, like it's the emotional connection and the it's like it's like I was creating a block by myself in and around. It was like, it's like an obsession. It's an obsession about something.
Yeah.
And I had to let go of the obsession of the situation before I can even address it in another way.
About control, like
Yeah.
really, you know, you can look at different spectrums. I mean, we don't have that kind of mental health. I wouldn't say that we work with when it's gone really long and there's like life ending thoughts or suicidal ideation, like Mark was saying there. But it's a spectrum of loss of control, and that's really, you know, what it's about. You know, there's something that you can't do that's forcing you to a point where there's a attempt to regain control, and it's really, I just look at it as a continuum, right? And like you said, Sarah, it's usually a lot of suppressed anger. And as we know about anger, or may not know about anger, it's a protective emotion, right? It's just something that wants to protect us either from the outside or the inside, right? Physical body or ego body. So there's something that needs, or it's trying to express itself and protect itself, and it's not being able to do so. You're suppressed from environment, from your parents, not able to speak up, bullied, or, you know, it can be thousands of different variations for why it is like that, but it's something that doesn't come up, and it's really fighting really hard. So I've seen in a lot of clients in terms of that apathy, as I call it, you know, wanting to give up and just disconnect, and they always go like, oh, everyone else can start a business and a project and I can't do it. Why? And I'm like, well, you don't understand the level of stress you have. You're thinking stress as, oh, I have 5 kids, 3 businesses with 200 employees, or like you're thinking stress like that, right? But that's one area of stress, right? You can have stressors inside of your body that's pressuring your nervous system to the point where you can't take anything else. So we can't add more in a situation like that. We can actually need to do less. Kind of need almost to go into that bubble of doing nothing and really slowing down and learning to see what is what, because we probably don't see all the stressors that we have in life when this is happening.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give you a question now, Simba. Is belief systems always, because I'm when I feel into the belief system, it is about I can and I can't, right? Usually with the self, like with healing, what I can do and what I can't.
It comes down to choices, I would say. And you may not be aware of the choices, because 80 to 90% come from your subconscious mind or your nervous system. So your nervous system is an experience-based system, right? It's the autonomic nervous system, which means it has perfected its way of dealing with situations. We don't have to think about it when it happens. That's why a lot of things are instinctual. There are even programs in our body, like you touch put your hand on a hot plate and then you take it away, right? But then there are conditioned responses, behaviors from previous experiences that allows us to just, I don't have to think about it. I just respond. I just react to survive, right? And that's great if you live in nature and you're hunting and you're like walking around and there's wild animals, but it's usually not so great in society at large today, right? Because we become triggered in environments and then we become stuck, right? We become stuck mentally, emotionally, physically. So I really say it's about choices. And when we slow the speed down, you're aware to see what you were saying there, Sarah. You see, I can and I cannot do. We might not see the choices that we make because you made it so many times. There's no thought about it. Someone says something, oh, you look fat. Arrgh! Instead of actually having a little bit of a pause between what was said, the trigger, and your response. And when you start to get that pause, that's when you can start to change the behavior, right?
Because where I was going with that question is that it's a nervous system response. Because as soon as you're up in the blue zone, it's I can't. But I mean, then we have other belief systems that are more like programming, like generational stuff and cultural stuff, and Like in Europe, it's like, yeah, we don't eat this and this and this animals. Like we don't eat dogs, we don't eat cats, we don't eat, monkeys. And then you go to Asia and they're like, we eat this, we eat that, we don't eat. So it's like belief systems that can be super cultural and very like countries and generational from your family and things like that. So then it's not only the nervous system, but it's something that is repeatedly told to you as you are in a certain state or in a certain age, or I mean, when you just travel with other people, you learn things, but they can also be belief systems, like, yeah, you can do this but not that, and things like that. And all of these are, you're able to shift them if you want to. That's the point. Like, if you want to choose, you can choose your belief systems. That's the thing. But most people think that we are like born with belief systems, or that they are set. But in the healing realm where we operate, you have to be able to look at the belief systems like, okay, why would I hold on to a belief system that is limiting me? And that can be a choice. But if there's something that you really work for, then being able to shuffle a little bit with your belief systems can give you exponential results in a very short time if you move the right ones. And that's all usually a bit tricky, because people go, wait, what? I can do that? No, I can't do that. Okay, another belief system. It's like, you can change into anything you want, but you have to be aware of it. You have to be aware of the fact that you have a limiting belief system in the first place. And that's where the mirroring and the, why people come to the farm, because they want us to show them what kind of limiting belief systems that they have.
It's really about standards when I look at that. You said you have to want it. I mean, you can probably talk more about that than I do, Mark, than when they talk about like rock bottom and all of these things, but it's really just a standard. If I go below that standard, what I see my lowest limit is, either I see it or I don't see it, and I go below that and I make a choice, and then, no, I'm not going to go deeper than this. I make a choice and I want to come back from this. I want to change something. I mean, I know you've done a lot of, like, not going into details, but you've done a lot of deep changes in your life. What would you say of that when it comes to standards?
Well, it's very easy for beliefs to become standards, and then it's very easy for standards to become morals, and then it's very easy for morals to become dogma. And then people subscribe to a belief system, and that becomes their standard operating procedure. And they do choose that. Like you said, Simba, it is a choice to adopt those belief systems, or it's a choice not to question them. Either way. And so these things can be flexible, but a lot of societies teach that morals should be something that are rooted and firm and non-changeable. And so people get caught up in these unflexible beliefs, and then they're confused about which of their beliefs can they shift and which ones can they not shift. I think they're all shiftable. I think every belief can be changed and should be questioned. Question every belief that you have about every single thing to decide if it's something that you still want and you still choose. When it comes to like for my example, hitting rock bottom in depression and substance abuse, I got to a place in my nervous system where my morals didn't matter anymore. My standards didn't matter. My beliefs didn't matter. I didn't care anymore. And I just wanted to end the suffering. And so I chose substances as a way to escape that. And I got in that tunnel, and I felt really closed off and ended up in the blue zone, just completely living life in the blue zone, disconnected from my body. And my beliefs were kind of out the window, and I had to rebuild an entirely new belief system, which has led me to where I am now.
Yeah, I think it's a very important message that the belief systems play a very large role in your life, and you can change them.
Yeah.
And just by listening to this conversation and realize that, you know, we mentioned this in the episode, the previous episode, but your current belief systems are what, I mean, it's the manifestation of your reality, among other things, but you are already manifesting. And if you shift your internal world, then your external world will also change, because it's connected to the belief systems. And I mean, who we are on the inside is a hologram towards the outside. So it's deeply connected with the belief systems, and that there is hope. That's what I want to send everyone off with.
Yeah,
There is.
definitely. I mean, it's like, thank you for that, Mark. It's like, I think we said it the other day, it's probably another topic, but like reverse manifesting, right? Like, as much as you think something shouldn't happen and you're afraid of something will happen, and you go think, I hope this doesn't happen and everything, look how much that is happening in your life. And then imagine doing the opposite, how much you can bring yourself into something that you want to do, that you choose to do, that you're calling into your life, and then watch yourself start to move towards that. And that always happens. Like when I start working as a personal trainer, life coach, whatever I say, I work with people now, you know, all the different modalities and tools we do. Once they actually start to do something towards where the aim is, you know, where what they're calling in, it actually starts to happen. They actually start to move in that direction, right? It's just that we kind of, the aim is, like Mark was saying, the aim is a little bit off. It's like, it's here, right? And you kind of, as a coach, you guide them, ask questions, and then they start to see, oh, wow, I can actually go this way. And then I will start to go that way.
Very cool. Any last advice, any final words for this episode?
Yeah, I feel like we could do another episode on this topic, especially when it comes to like worthiness. Are you worthy of healing? Are you worthy of this experience? I think that's a deep one. And another one was like, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah, that one. Okay, let's do this one before we
Okay.
say there's something wrong with me. Okay, Simba.
There's something wrong with me. Okay.
Yeah, strong one.
So that's shame, right? There's most likely shame. It can be other emotions too. I'm not saying it's always like this, because it's never one emotion alone. There's a plethora of emotions, right? But if you just play around with the concept that shame is probably the driving one in this, is a lack of willpower to accept yourself as you are, not for what you have done, but for who you are. There is a norm that I, whatever I deem myself to be, cannot conform to, cannot upfill, don't like, don't want to do, and everyone else is doing it, but I can't, right? So there's usually like some kind of exclusion that is going on. We're excluding ourselves because we're not good enough, we're not worthy enough, we're not doing what everyone else is doing. And it's highly related to the environment you grew up in or where you're at, right? So that's why when people start to travel and get perspective and see other people, you know, go to your friends' households and see, well, everyone is not doing that. Maybe that's just happening in my family. Start to kind of get that perspective, and you can start to see that there are different ways of doing it, but you might still carry that shame, right? And shame, in my experience, is the one emotion that brings people into blue zone, to dorsal vagal, the shutdown, right? Because they can't handle it. Like the nervous system can't handle the stress. So it just shuts down to be able to cope, because the whole environment is feeling threatening, because I don't feel that I belong, feel like I'm under a threat.
I wonder if that was because for many years, while I was still living in the matrix without having, you know, opened up for so much knowledge that I have now. And I really want to emphasize that it's knowledge. It was just information that I didn't have access to. And my health was going down, my happiness was going down, my stress was going up, and I couldn't, I have to say, figure out what was wrong with me. And I felt like I'm probably sick or something, because this is this is not right. This can't be normal. This can't be it. Like, this can't be the way that I'm supposed to be. And that's what was with me, because I was like, there's something wrong with me. And now looking back, I realized that I was just blocked for information. My whole being was looking for something that wasn't available to me at that point. Because there was things going on in myself that I didn't have any information about. I didn't see anyone around me working with these things. And I was very interested in health and like nutrition and fitness and all of these things, but no one was talking about these things that I could find. And I didn't have access to the information that I have now. And that was one of the main reasons why I actually left Sweden, because I felt there's something wrong with me and I need to find what's going on. And in this environment, I cannot. So that's when I left, but for me, looking back, there's something wrong with me, was that I just didn't have access to like the nervous system information. Like, and this, I mean, it's starting to be, I've been here for a couple of years now. I mean, I'm on 7 years, and 7 years ago when we started doing these things, people thought we were a little bit nuts, because they thought we joined a cult. They thought we were doing just woo-woo spiritual things. And you know, as the years go by, when I go to Sweden, they have all the modalities that we have on different, you know, like spas, or, you know, there's nothing strange with what we do. And science has kind of catched up, and the spiritual and the science is meeting. And I mean, no one's is questioning the role that the nervous system plays and things like that. So it was just information that I didn't have access to. That's how I see it, looking back now. And of course, shame in it, because I wasn't able to fix it.
Yeah, that's a good examples there.
All right.
Yeah,
That's it for today.
that's it.
Read all about it, extra, livingwiththespirit.com. If you have any questions about limiting beliefs, or if there's something wrong with you.
If you perceive something
Yeah.
wrong.
Yep.
Let us know, and I'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.